Hello, I'm Joseph Fry from Fry Studios, and I'm here with...
Matthew Kadish, author of the Earthman Jack Space Saga.
And what do you do?
Well, I'm a full-time writer, and I'm writing a novel. People call it Star Wars meets Harry Potter. The first book is called Earthman Jack versus the Ghost Planets, the first of a planned 7 series of novels, and the sequel comes out in November, so I'm really excited about it.
Nice. Anything else you can tell us about the book?
It's been an Amazon bestseller. It's been on 5 different top 100 lists. It's got over 100 5-star reviews so far on Amazon, so people are really loving it. Basically, it's for the people who, when they were depressed when Harry Potter ended, they're looking for something new to read, and this is the series that they're going to.
Coming up with something to fill the void.
Exactly.
Also, I do have to warn you, during the length of this interview, you will be hit a few times by our very own Harley Quinn.
Okay.
So, you told us what your book was about. Are there any inspirations that really stick out in this book?
So many inspirations. Basically, I took everything I loved growing up, sci-fi, fantasy, stuff like that, and just made a love letter to it. And basically, I feel like there are no good, wholesome science fiction stories told anymore, like Spielbergian adventures, basically. I wanted something that could be fun for the whole family, but like a rip-roaring, space opera. Like
something that hasn't been seen since William Gibson.
Exactly.
Nice.
So there's a lot of stuff in there where I take little inspirations from all these different sci-fi things I love, like Star Wars, Star Trek, Stargate, anything with star in the title pretty much. And I do these little Easter eggs within the books that kind of call out to fans for them, and people really have fun kind of going through and spotting them. It's like, oh yeah, it's just like that.
Speaking of Star Wars, I hear you have some intel on the new Star Wars movie coming out.
A little bit.
Just a little bit of info?
Yeah. I have to say that even though I'm kind of tapped into stuff, everything I say is kind of unsubstantiated. So it might be true.
Cool. And so do you know how far after episode 6 this new one takes place?
I believe what they're doing is they're taking the age of the original actors and kind of backdating it. So let's see, it was 81 when Jedi came out, so it would be about 30 years into the timeline.
So they're doing it basically from the end of the last film
Yes.
to the beginning of the new one.
Exactly. So the amount of time that's passed between the end of the film and today will be the time that's passed in the show.
Cool. And which older characters will make an appearance that we haven't already probably know before? Will Lando make an appearance?
I don't think Lando's going to be making an appearance, unfortunately. I think Billy D wanted too much money. Not true. But I know that Luke's coming back, Leia's coming back, Han's coming back, and Chewie, of course, R2-D2, C-3PO, and but one of them's going to die, I think.
Okay, now that I'm not looking forward to.
First of all, J.J. Abrams, he likes killing people.
Mm-hmm.
Second of all, I'm pretty confident that it's going to be Luke.
I was thinking that too because
he's going to get struck down. Yeah. Well, he's like Obi-Wan. He's going to get struck down, and the new characters that they're introducing, they're going to have to rise up. So that's the rumor I'm hearing.
I really hope to see some new rising actors in this new movie.
Yeah.
We're keep seeing the same actors over and over again. Really hope we get some new guys in there.
It looks like a lot of the new characters are going to be women too.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Getting some more people in there.
Exactly.
And is the Empire still around, or is it possibly under a new name?
I don't think they're going the Thrawn route. I don't think that the Empire is going to be playing a factor in this. I think what they're going to do is they're going to create new villains, and then take it off in a whole different direction. Kind of make their own timeline instead of repeating stuff.
Yeah, this kind of seems a little difficult because in the prequels we had the Republic, we had an entire organization. Mm-hmm. In this one, we had the older ones and the better ones, in my opinion.
Well, in everyone's opinion.
In everyone's opinion.
Can I get a bonk on the head? Thank you.
There, we had the Empire there, so I wonder if we're going to get a huge organization or we're going to be getting maybe a group of ragtag
I think
villains.
what you're going to see is the Sith kind of rise up, and they're going to be the ones behind all the drama that's going on. The Sith are always the big bad guys in the Star Wars universe, but they come in different forms.
And now segues are hard, so let's move on to Batman.
Okay, yeah. Thank you.
So will Lex Luthor work with or against Bruce Wayne?
He's definitely going to be a villain. Yeah,
Definitely.
in Batman versus Superman, he's going to be the antagonist for both Batman and Superman. You look at Man of Steel, you see a lot of LexCorp kind of like Easter eggs around there. And the way they're doing it is basically Jesse Eisenberg is Mark Zuckerberg, only bald. That's basically how they're portraying Lex Luthor.
Jesse Eisenberg is Lex Luthor?
Jesse Eisenberg is Lex Luthor, yes. The guy from The Social Network is the main Superman villain.
I'm trying to picture that right now.
No one can picture it. Nobody knows what they're doing. But the LexCorp logo, if you look at Man of Steel, it's got Google colors on it. So LexCorp is kind of like a variation of Google in the new Batman versus Superman movie.
So does that mean we have to look out in real life?
Yes, Google is Skynet. They're watching us
They're
constantly.
basically taking over everything, even the websites that aren't Google, ads by Google.
Yes, exactly. They're everywhere.
Let's see, when do you think the two heroes will get together?
I'm thinking
Or
that,
what will bring them together?
well, I'm thinking that there's going to be some type of crisis that happens in Gotham.
So you think it's going to be Gotham, not Metropolis?
I think so, because I don't think Batman really cares about Metropolis. Especially, they're basing Batfleck off of Frank Miller's Dark Knight, so he's kind of this more weathered, grizzled Batman than what we saw in Christopher Nolan's. He's not beginning; he's already kind of through his career. And in the comics, the way Batman and Superman first met was Superman kind of went to Gotham to deal with stuff, and Batman didn't want him there. So he basically said, like, if you don't leave, I'm going to kill someone.
So you think this is how it's going to be this time? Is there going to be a rivalry between Batman and Superman?
There's going to be
like a hate relationship? It's
going to be this thing where they're at odds, and eventually they're going to have to come together to stop some type of greater threat, which will lead into the Justice League movies.
So it will be tied to the Justice League.
This is basically Justice League 0.0.
So it's going to be Batman, Superman, The Flash, a few others, and then Justice League?
Well, not The Flash, just yet. Basically, so in Justice League, they're going to start introducing these other Marvel characters. They're definitely going to have Wonder Woman.
Wait, Marvel characters?
I'm sorry, DC characters. I wish they were Marvel characters. Basically, they're going to be introducing Wonder Woman. They're going to be introducing Cyborg. And I just heard yesterday that Jason Momoa, Khal Drogo himself, has been cast as Aquaman. So they might hint at him as well.
Do you know who's going to be playing Cyborg?
I don't remember the name of the actor. He's not very well known.
Is he the guy who played B.A. Baracus in the 18 movie?
I wish. No, he's not. He's a younger guy, actually. Yeah,
So
but Gal Gadot is playing Wonder Woman. So that's the only name I really remember. But basically, they're going to be introducing like tiny little characters into Batman versus Superman, which they don't have to set up when they do Justice League, because we've already been introduced to them. So they can spend more time kind of focusing on the team dynamic. And then Justice League is going to start branching out characters into their own movies, but they're all going to be related. So DC's plan is basically a 10-movie cycle.
So it's kind of like what Marvel did in the past.
But we're in reverse. So Marvel had individual movies that led up to the Avengers. This one has the Justice League, which leads up to individual movies.
Are these being made by the same movie companies that Marvel used, or?
Well, they're being done by Warner Brothers, because Warner Brothers owns DC Comics. So it's all under the Warner Brothers banner.
And I trust Warner Brothers with a lot of things. They've made some pretty good movies.
They've also made some really bad movies.
Yeah, true.
Green Lantern.
I didn't see that one.
Well, you're not missing anything.
I had my reasons for not seeing it. What villains do you think will be included from the Batman universe and the Superman universe that might collide?
I'm thinking that because they're trying to set up the Justice League stuff, the big villain is going to be Apocalypse. Darkseid. So he's going to be the kind of big bad which creates the Justice League dynamic. And when they come off and give Batfleck his own kind of movie arc or whatever it's going to be, I'm willing to bet that they're probably going to try to bring in the Joker.
Going to try and bring him back?
Yeah.
Your pudding's coming back?
My pudding!
Well, not back. Basically, it's going to be like, he never left, because it's it's not the Heath Ledger Joker. The Ben Affleck Batman is going to be a whole different thing than the Nolan Batman. That was kind of its own side story.
Yeah.
So they're
Do
going
you
to
think we'll be seeing Robin at all?
There's been talk about if they merge the TV universe and the movie universe together, so like Arrow, The Flash, they have TV shows on the CW. If those guys kind of are incorporated into the cinematic universe, and they've already set up that there's a Nightwing, because there's a Bloodhaven that was mentioned in Arrow. And there's talk about having a Nightwing in season 3. So if that's the case, then it stands to reason that that Nightwing came from the older grizzled Batman that Ben Affleck's playing. So it would stand to reason that it's quite possible there could be a Tim Drake Robin at some point.
So do you think there could be possibly a Teen Titans revival within the Justice League as well?
You know, if DC's smart, they'll set that up because it's a whole other franchise for them. I don't think they're thinking that far ahead just yet. I think they're focusing on kind of the core roster, which will be like, you know, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Cyborg, Flash, Martian Manhunter, you know, things like that.
Mm-hmm. And what do you think Batman's new suit, new costume will look like? Do you think it's going to be a play off old ones, a play off the Nolan, or do you think something brand new?
It's going to be a play off the Frank Miller version. You know, it's got like the big bat on the chest.
Are we not going to see bat nipples?
No bat nipples. But you know, it's we saw that one leaked photo that Zack Snyder tweeted out of Ben Affleck in the bat suit, and he's got the small small ears and the big kind of Frank Miller-esque bat on his chest. So it looks very Dark Knight Returns.
What I would like to see is DC working with Marvel and make the Iron Bat. That would be cool.
Well, never the twain shall meet. Worlds don't collide like that.
Yep. Well, no, never mind. That was all Looney Tunes. I was thinking Space Jam, but nope, that was all Looney Tunes.
That was all Looney Tunes, yes. And you know, it's Warner Brothers as well, so they can put in like DC Comics into that.
Yeah.
So maybe you'd get like a Bugs Bunny Batman.
I want to see that. Let's get that in the new Batman.
Exactly.
I'd
pay for that.
Let's resurrect Mel Blanc.
Just raise him from the dead. Zombie Mel Blanc.
So is Batman versus Superman the official title?
Well, the official title is Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. That's the official title of the movie.
So so this is really getting Justice League together. Like,
Yeah, yes.
They're explicitly saying it.
They're basically saying this is the prequel to the Justice League movie, and Zack Snyder is also directing the Justice League movie.
And how do you think all these companies are, Marvel, DC, with adjusting their comic books to movies, creating completely new storylines and or building off others?
I think I'm going to need to be hit in the head before I answer that.
Harder.
Okay. Okay. I think I forgot what I was going to say because of that hard. What was the question again?
My question was, how do you think these companies do with bringing comic book things to TV and movies?
Okay.
Like, as in making their own storylines and or continuing off others. Which do you think is better?
Okay, so here's the deal. These two companies, DC and Marvel, have two very different philosophies on how they bring their comic book properties to life on the big screen and TV. So if you look at historically, Marvel's been very bad with TV, but really good with movies. DC has been the exact opposite. They've been really good with TV and really bad with movies.
Wonder Woman,
Yes.
Green Lantern.
Exactly. So basically, it comes down to this. Marvel has this kind of overarching plan for their cinematic universe, which you saw kind of being set up in the Avengers. You see kind of being set up in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and other properties that they have. We're basically doing the Infinity Gauntlet, where Thanos is the big bad guy, and he's kind of the greater cosmic threat. And eventually in Phase 3, we're going to start seeing him kind of come in and be a more direct threat that the Marvel characters have to overcome. So everything that Marvel is doing is laying the groundwork for that storyline. The TV shows are meant to be wingmen to the movies.
It's like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yes,
and all that.
if you notice, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the first half of the season started off really slow, and the second half got really good.
Because that was like after
Captain
not Second
America.
Avengers, the
Second
Winter
Captain
Storm.
America, yeah. So basically they had to wait until the Captain America movie came out before they could really cut loose. And I think that turned a lot of fans off because they got bored with the first half of the season. But then the second half was really excellent.
Warning, spoilers.
Yes. So essentially, Marvel has this overall plan, and the people at Marvel, like Kevin Feige, they're comic book fanatics. They love comics. One of the reasons Marvel got into the movie business was because they weren't happy with how Hollywood was treating their characters, so they wanted to treat them with some respect. And they don't have to sit there and be like, oh, what kind of a story are we going to tell with this character?
Because they can actually get it.
They can say, hey, right here in this comic book. Why don't we do this story? People love this story. You saw that with Days of Future Past or the X-Men. People love, that's one of the most popular X-Men stories ever. And they were like, let's just make this into a movie. So, I mean, that's Marvel's philosophy. DC's philosophy is very different. So in the Warner Brothers universe, the people who do the TV stuff, they're kind of like, oh, it's TV, you go do your thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so because they have that freedom, they can,
manipulate it and make it into whatever they want.
like you see with Arrow. Arrow is an excellent TV show, and they're doing a great job of kind of giving a sense of the greater DC universe for these characters. It's excellent. They're spinning off with the Flash, and that's going to expand on it even more. But Warner Brothers has always kind of kept the DC movies and the DC TV shows separate. Like you had the Superman movie come out with Brandon Routh at the same time Smallville was on, and the two never really kind of fed into each other. So they like to keep things separate instead of incorporating them kind of like what Marvel does. And DC has a bad habit of kind of,
Dumbing it down?
not dumbing it down, but
kids?
neglecting their roster of superheroes. So we know they have Superman, we know they have Batman. Those are their two big money makers, so they make Batman, Superman movies all the time. But why haven't we seen a Wonder Woman movie?
So they're more built on franchise than they are built on pleasing fans.
Exactly.
So like, we need as a broad...
Well, what happened
audience as
is
possible.
Marvel came out and they took a lot of their B-list superheroes and made them $100 million
Guardians of the Galaxy is coming
stuff.
out.
Yeah, no one ever heard of Guardians of the Galaxy before, they said, oh, we're making a movie of it. And DC, they finally kind of woke up and said, wait a minute, we've got all these, B-list characters too. Why aren't we doing anything with them? It's like, oh, let's do the Justice League and branch them out. So, you have characters like Cyborg, who's not a really well-known DC character, but he's going to be introduced in the Batman vs. Superman movie, and he's probably going to get his own offshoot film if he's popular.
Can't wait to see that.
You're going to have Aquaman, you're going to have Wonder Woman, you're going to have Green Lantern, new Green Lantern, not Ryan Reynolds. So you're going to see DC start to kind of try to expand their roster a little bit more.
Let's go on to...
But just real quick, the lady who runs DC, she's not a comic book fan.
Oh,
So they're all, they're basing their decisions off of,
ratings?
not necessarily ratings, but they're basing their decisions based off of what they think people want, as opposed to
What they really want?
what the fans are craving.
Mm.
So I think that's a big difference between DC and Marvel. Marvel's run by people who love the comics, and DC's run by people who love Hollywood.
So money and fans.
Yeah,
Let's move on to Marvel real quick, if that's fine with you.
yeah, that's fine.
With the new Guardians of the Galaxy movie coming out,
Mhm.
I honestly, like you said, I had no idea who they were until I saw the preview.
Mhm.
So I went down on Free Comic Book Day and I got the first few issues of the newer series.
Mhm.
And I started reading it and I was loving it. Can't find any issues anywhere else right now. I've only honestly got to issue 3. But I'm really loving it so far. I think the voice they chose for Rocket was a little unfitting. But do you think that this will collide, that they will collide with the Avengers at some point for that Thanos film you were talking about?
Yeah, so what Marvel's doing is they're kind of dividing up their cinematic universe into sections. So you have the Avengers, universe, which is on Earth, and you have the greater cosmic universe, which is Guardians of the Galaxy, where stuff's happening in space with aliens and things, and they're kind of setting up the whole alien invasion thing on Earth. Then you have the Netflix TV series, which is going to be the gritty street level type thing with Daredevil, Luke Cage.
Wait, those are going straight to Netflix?
Those are Netflix exclusive series. So basically what they're doing is they're planning on making 7-hour movies out of them, because they're planning on people binge watching. Kind of like how when you join Netflix, you get the entire season. You just sit there in the weekend and zone out. And,
I have
watch it.
maybe 5 friends binge watching Supernatural. I've never even started watching that show.
I hear it gets really good, but I couldn't do the first season because I knew it was coming. Okay, so I couldn't do the first season because it just starts off really slow, but I hear it gets really good.
But yeah, Netflix and superheroes.
Yeah, Netflix and superheroes. So basically, Netflix is going to have the gritty street level stuff. The movies are going to have the overall kind of on-Earth Marvel universe. Then the movies branch out to the cosmic universe with Guardians of the Galaxy, and with Dr. Fate, they're going to get into the magical side of the universe. So they have these different aspects of the world that they're creating. and different movies and characters are going to start exploring those different aspects of the universe.
Cool. Now, let me ask you a personal question
Okay?
about superheroes.
Boxers, by the way.
Huh?
Boxers, not briefs.
Boxer briefs.
Yes, exactly. Best of both worlds.
Get Fruit of the Looms right now, sponsored.
You heard it here.
Now, this is more a personal superhero question.
Okay.
We have the kids' cartoons, we have sort of adultier cartoons, and then we have then we have actual movies and shows that are really more for adults than they are for things. What is your preferred superhero? Do you like Superman? He's up, fabulous, amazing, nothing is wrong kind of guy, or are you like Batman, where everything is dirty, street, gritty, or like same thing with Star Wars, how they had forgot what that one project was, where they had a Star Wars game and it's like down, you see all the dirt
Star Wars,
and crap
like
that goes on there.
1770 or
Yeah,
1999
something like that.
or something.
So what is your preferred? Do you like big cinematic, something everyone can enjoy, or do you like the things that would be if they were actually in real life, down and really drama filled?
You know, I think that the thing I like the best is the idea of a hero. And whether you're kind of like the dark anti-hero like Batman, or you're the bright shining, savior of humanity like Superman.
Or you're that one oddball like Deadpool.
Exactly. like I just like to see people who face impossible odds and find the strength and courage to rise up against them and overcome them. So I think that in and of itself is kind of an inspiring thing. When I was a kid reading comic books, my dad was in the military, and when he was stationed in Germany, I was a kid in kindergarten age, and we used to have this little store on base, and it was the only place you could get American things to read, like in English. And they had a little rack of comic books there, and I'd beg my mom every week to take me down there, and I'd look at the rack and I'd see like Batman, Superman, Spider-Man. I'd buy them all. I'd go home and I'd read them, and I'd just like get lost in these adventures. But one of the things that always captured my imagination was like these guys are fighting for something greater than themselves, and it was an inspiring thing. So I think even when you have something that's like dark with Batman, there's a sense of hope that even though he's haunted by his demons, he's kind of channeling that into making the city better for others, because he does what he does for revenge, but he also does what he does because he wants to keep people from becoming what he became.
So it's like a light in the darkness
Yes.
and all of that. And keeping people from what he became. You ever read the Watchmen series?
Yes.
Or series, it's one book.
Yes.
Read Watchmen?
Mm-hmm.
There's this one scene, I'm not sure if it was in the comic or the movie, but you can see this one kid, his parents are being saved by a mugger outside of a theater. So that's a universe where Batman never happened because they stopped it from happening.
Mm-hmm.
So like getting back to Origins, he's trying to create this, so he's basically the watchman of that universe. You like people who protect everybody else, no matter what.
Well, I like heroism, and I like people who aren't afraid to stand up for what's right. And that's the difference between the heroes and the supervillains, because the supervillains, they don't care who gets hurt. They're selfish. They just want what they want.
This is kind of what I don't like Superman, because in like the movies, the shows, I almost said the comic books, there's always a lot of damage to Metropolis by him.
Well, it's not necessarily by him. It's happening anyway, and if he wasn't there to stop it, it would be even worse. Mm-hmm. That's kind of like the whole point of Superman, is like he handles the big threats. Like Batman would never have been able to take out that world changer thing in, Man of Steel. But Superman was there, and even though like he laid waste to half of Metropolis, it was because Zod was, the one doing it. If he wasn't there to stop Zod, the Earth would have been gone. So even though like it was like disaster porn, where it was like a whole bunch of like disaster, I didn't mind it because I thought it was cool to look at, and I felt like it was reasonable that in a fight between these two basically gods, stuff gets laid to waste, but enough of it survived where they could rebuild. Whereas if Superman wasn't there, it would have been like so much worse.
There were just two things going through my mind during that fight. One, all the innocent
Just
deaths,
two?
all of those. Yes, just two. And the amount of money they would use to rebuild
Well,
Metropolis.
I
know I'm being realistic in a comic book universe, which is not really.
No, that's perfectly fine, because I always ask myself those questions when I'm watching something like that as well, where, it's okay to have superpowers, but, wouldn't the cops show up for, this particular scene or something like that? So, but I think the destruction of most of Metropolis was actually intentional because a big part of Batman versus Superman is going to be LexCorp rebuilding Metropolis. And that's how Lex is going to come into the picture.
He's going to get a better name, good name for himself. Like,
Oh.
I rebuilt your city.
Well, it's just going to show like how he becomes such a powerhouse in Metropolis because he's going to own so much of the real estate, and he's going to be developing stuff, and that's probably going to bring him into contact with Wayne Enterprises, and that's how like the whole Batman Superman universes start to merge.
So do you think Batman as Bruce Wayne will actually probably shake hands with Lex at some point?
Definitely. Yeah, their alter egos will meet. I don't think Jesse Eisenberg's going to start off as like the bald Lex Luthor. I think eventually something's going to happen.
So sort of like, I'm going to bring it to X-Men, where we saw in Days of Future Past, we saw walking Professor X with all his hair.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was just like a young version of himself before he grew old and all that.
Mm-hmm. Before he became Patrick Stewart.
So I think we are actually out of time right now.
Okay.
Let me
I didn't
see.
get a bonk on the head, so I imagine we.
Yeah, we've
Oh,
been-
there it goes. Yeah,
Let's
time's
get
up.
a few more for out of time. Boom, 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 boom.
I feel like a bobblehead.
Well, thank you so much for the
No
interview.
problem, man. And if people want to check out more, go to my website, matthewkadish.com, Kadish, and the London Film Review. I also write news articles for them as well.
London Film Review, and what was that website one more time?
matthewkadish.com. It's just my name.
Thank you very much. Cut.